Okay.
Give us a little bit of history.
Sure.
This is Newport royalty. So.
Okay. So my mother, Muriel Barclay de Tully, she immigrated from Canada. She met my father there, and he was from Poland back in the 60s, moved to the United States, and landed in Newport, Rhode Island. And she had several businesses. She was an entrepreneur before women were entrepreneurs back in the 60s. She owned a French nursery school. She opened up several restaurants in Newport, Courtney's, if people remember that one back in the late 70s, early 70s. So in 1985, she decided to open up Muriel's restaurant. And after her first summer, we dared her to enter her seafood chowder recipe into the Newport Chowder Cook-Off.
Now, did you grow up working in the restaurants?
I did. I'm one of 6, so I'm a twin. I'm the youngest of 6, and of course we all had to work there in one respect or another.
Yeah.
My mom had the restaurant for 14 years, and all 6 of her children knew the type of work it took to be successful, so we all ventured out into other fields. Engineers, teachers, nurses. I'm actually a physical therapist by trade. But we watched my mom work really hard and was super successful and dynamic, and she loved owning a restaurant.
And what's so great about Rhode Island, this is, I'm originally from the New York City area, and they talk about New York City being a melting pot. Got nothing on Rhode Island. I mean, the beauty of our appreciation for food, our, by relative standards, our moderate cost of living and moderate expenses here, is that this melting pot, the toehold that first-generation immigrants have in this state, is the ability to start restaurants. I think we've all seen enough of these bar rescue shows to understand finally how hard you have to work every day. If you own a restaurant, you don't get to mail it in ever.
Well, there's a lot of overhead, there's a lot of oversight. You have to make sure that you buy enough food in the right quantities. You're never going to know who's going to walk through the door. You don't know if there's going to be a problem with refrigeration. So, every day can be exciting, but it's also a lot of work. So that's why I chose, and the rest of my brothers and sisters said, you know what, there's got to be a different type of employment for us.
But God bless your parents for the kind of work ethic that it took for a first-generation immigrant to spawn an entire family of successes, and that's why they were and still are to a certain degree the greatest generation, right? Because it's just there was nothing that would stand in the way of them and supporting their family.
Right.
So you had this so there were how many restaurants did she have?
Well, she had a restaurant in White River Junction, Vermont, back in the 70s. But yeah, 1985, she had one restaurant, Newport, right near right in front of the Jewish synagogue in town.
Right.
The building actually is no longer there, but she was very popular, and she. When she sold the restaurant, so many people were asking about the chowder. And this year is the 20th anniversary of her actually selling the restaurant. And my mom's 89 now. So she's getting up there in age. And I thought, how can we keep this going without opening up a brick and mortar? Because so many do fail. Right. And you see a lot of restaurants merging because they have a formula that works. But the mom and pops, they can make it work, but it's 24 hours a day.
Well, and the economics of Newport have changed drastically. I mean,
Exactly.
It's an international destination now. In Rhode Island, we see streets like Thames, we see streets like Thayer, evolve from being created by this unique melting pot that is Rhode Island. And then the ultimate testament to their success, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, is the arrival of the big chain restaurants who can afford the big rents, who've got an international presence, and and that's it's a circle of life, if you will, restaurant style.
Absolutely.
And now, if you were in Providence, you went over to Ives Street, you'd see restaurants like Bees, and there's a beautiful taqueria there, who are finding someplace else to plant those seeds and plant those roots. So it's an ongoing process. I credit anyone who's homegrown in Rhode Island who can run a business in Newport. Wonderful opportunity, but again, all the challenges that you mentioned on steroids.
Right.
It's you've got to sell an awful lot of chowder, even as fabulous as this is, to cover those kind of bucks. So what What was the genesis of this idea? Because I just want to break the product here is essentially it's an on-the-go mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the original packet. So what I did was to have a picture of my mom. She was actually making chowder here in her 50s for the chowder cook-off. So I found this picture online, and I've been thinking about this for about 3 years.
Right.
But I'm the type of person that's constantly thinking. Jackson probably can attest to this. And when I finally talk about something, then I'm going to do it.
Right.
So I thought about it, and this past fall, a friend of mine got married, and I said, you know what, let me just test it out. So Dave and Ann's been on all of my promotional material, but this was the first chowder packet that I made. So what I did was I customized it for their big day, and they got married in Newport. So what we did is we took all the spices from my mom's recipe, and then we have the recipe on the back.
Right.
So the nice thing about this is that you can make the chowder. I made it tonight, so I'm hoping that you'll try it.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes 10 to 12 servings, so a big crock pot. And it's super easy. It took me about 30 minutes to make, which, you know, if you look online for chowder recipes, you don't really see a lot. And if you do, they can be really difficult. This one's really easy. You can put whatever seafood that you want into it. And Jackson, he's here because he's an expert at tasting chowder, right? So he loves, and we call my mom Mima, so he loves Mima's chowder. And he did taste it for me tonight, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the challenge. I mean, for people like me who don't know how to cook, but certainly know how to eat, the time usually involved in preparation something like this, and when you had real New England style clam chowder, whether it be the red or the white, and I only believe in the white,
Right.
to tell you the truth, to have canned supermarket chowder is a supreme disappointment because you've got all the calories, all the carbs, and none of the taste.
Well, that's it. And, you know, back in the late 80s, my mom thought about how can we can this, and we
Right.
looked into it, but number one, shipping is super expensive right now. So
Right.
if we were actually make the chowder and ship it, it almost comes cost prohibitive.
Right, and you went to a world now. I mean, you know, the kind of back in the day when we were, and I'm older than you, when we were kids, you know, people packed things and sold them at the Christian, you know, the church bazaar, and they, you know, came out on Founder's Day or Memorial Day or whatever your town celebration was. It was all very simple and very innocent, and occasionally if things went awry and someone perhaps felt poorly afterwards, there were no life-dealing ramifications. Nowadays, shipping food, manufacturing food, I was discussing with someone earlier today, a new friend of mine who's got they have about 25,000 maple trees on a mountain in upstate New York, and they make maple syrup. And they are an enormous amounts of maple syrup. But the food technology that goes into the shipping on a large scale is very, very complex. It's a different business now today. It's you have to have the best of all worlds, which leads me to the next part of the conversation. Like so many other Rhode Islanders, you have found mentoring and success at, I think, a pretty unique Rhode Island institution now. And I call them an institution because through their entrepreneurial program, they've trained quite a few generations of food and restaurant people. So tell us about how you got involved with Hope and
Well, I have to give a shout out to Erin Venditti from St. Phil's. That's where my son goes to school. I was telling her about my idea, and I was making it at home, like so many people do. And, you know, quickly found out that that was not going to make it because you can't be selling out of your home.
Right.
So she suggested that I go take a look at Hope in Maine. So what I did is I met with Waterman and Waterman Brown. He and his wife actually is the founder, and he gave me a tour, and I was so impressed. I had no idea what it was, and it's basically a cohort for food-based businesses. So
and what they've done is, it appears it was an old grammar school, right?
Right, and yes.
And if you haven't been there, you really need to go. During the fall, several times a year, they have farmers markets there, right? They're kind of an equivalent of a farmers market, where the products that are made and developed there are showcased and for sale. So, first of all, it's in Warren.
On the corner of Hope and Main.
Right? It's a beautiful location. It's, you know, you can make it part of a day where, you know, you go to one of the great Warren restaurants and do a little bit of, in fact, Warren has once a year something called a Warren Walkabout, but do a bit of a walkabout. And at the same time, what's unique about this is you've got this professional industrial kitchen.
4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
With full ServSafe accreditation. And that's something that everybody has to go through in the food business right now, which is available essentially kind of like a timeshare, if you will. It's a cooperative environment. People can use it because they book time on it. So what it does is eliminates a great deal of the capital needs and the risk for someone who's starting out. And you can start out a concept there. There's expense, but you can start out a concept there and bring it forward to execution and see if it'll work or not.
Absolutely. I mean, I knew that this idea was going to work because, you know, 25 years ago, my mom was selling her packets downtown in downtown Newport, one at a time. And I thought, you know what, I have a full-time job. I'm in a different type of sales. And I thought, how can we get this on the internet and really get it outside of just New England? Could be anywhere. So when I went to Hope in Maine, I found out about their entrepreneur cohort, which is a series of 6 classes that you can take, and it goes through all the steps of starting a food-based business.
Right.
So from learning about accounting, marketing, writing a business plan, and then finally the last class that I took was presenting your product, so the pitch product. So this was my pitch to them. I said, you know, what you can use it for, you know, as a company logo, but wouldn't it be great if you could promote your business by customizing the front? And what I quickly realized being in Newport was 2 things. One, this is a lot more fun than selling medical devices. The customers are really friendly. I've had such great, you know, warm welcome, and everybody is just introducing me to the next person, which has been great. And
that's a Rhode Island thing, because in Rhode Island, a contact sport is finding out before everybody else does your favorite foodie thing. It could be a restaurant, it could be a home product, it could be, you know, the latest and greatest Asian supermarket, which is over on Broad Street, and what you can buy there. I mean, it's a full contact sport here. Everybody is so aware of food, so aware of the complexities of it, so aware now of what it means to be farm to table, so aware of the economic possibility for people, that everybody's sort of cross-pollinating at a fever pitch. And the fun part about going to one of these Hope and Main events is you're meeting the owner. You're meeting the person who has actually had that hallelujah moment, that breakthrough moment. If you're my age, when the little cartoon, when the little light bulb went up over top. And the passion that these folks have, and all of you have, for your product is palpable. You walk into a room, and it's just, if you don't have a soul if you don't walk out energized. You just don't, because the people in that room have spent so much time, you know, working out their product, and it's all great stuff. I've gotten a sense just from meeting the managers just once or twice, very briefly, that I think there are cases where they put, you know, a hard reality check on people, you know, what the possibilities are. At the same time, when something like this comes along, because I can't think really of any other product like it in the market that is got all the aspects of a commercially viable, safe product that you can bring to your family, but at the same time has sort of unique culture. Everything has become so homogenized in terms of, you know, these mass food productions, that even if you go to the, I'll use their name, the Knorrs and the people of that in the world, it's just bleh, blah. What do the kids say now? Meh. Meh.
Amongst other things.
Amongst other things. So, you know, and the beauty here is that we don't have to settle in Rhode Island, do we? We've got the very best of everything. And Hope in Maine has become really, I think, one of the brightest spots in a sometimes challenging economy. So they brought you through a six-step class.
Yeah.
How to work with this. And as far as the actual production, now, did they help you find a contractor to produce or
yeah,
package?
so they have what they call a co-packing portal there. So they actually are making the packets for me. Again, I have a full-time job right now, so it's great, and they make them there. And that was part of the whole costing, to find out, okay, so you have this great idea about a product, but how much is it going to cost, and what will the market bear? So they take you through calculations to figure out what your cost should be, what your margins are, and you know, it's all things that we've heard about, but it's nice to be able to drill down on your own recipe. So they actually make the product for me. We agreed on a price, and so they do it per packet, and then I do the customization through our website, and I have a great graphic artist, as you know, who helps me with that. And then when we get an order, we just go to Hope in Maine, we clip these on and either ship them out, or you know, I'm also doing local delivery in Rhode Island. Anywhere in Rhode Island, I will deliver locally.
All right, so you sell to the individual, potentially gift stores.
Actually, yeah, but what I'm finding is I've been more so, I'm actually not doing the retail route right now. I'm doing doing online. Not that I'm opposed to it, but it's still a new company, and I'm finding that wedding venues, so I'm meeting with wedding planners, corporate events, nonprofits, because they're all looking for a different giveaway to give to their customers, and also being able to promote their brand.
Right, and it's interesting because, you know, that approach had been successful for several years with a variety of alcohol-based products, wines, beers, things like that. But in a time when people are, you just can't assume, gifts of alcohol can be met with a variety of responses. You know, some people will drink, some people don't, some people can't. And so you sidestep that whole awkwardness by going with a product like this, because
also very expensive to ship, because you're dealing with glass and alcohol, which is heavy.
Right.
So we have some great flat rate shipping rates for our products. I actually just sent 2 packets to St. Thomas, and they had the same shipping rates that they would in the continental USA, which was wonderful. So excited to get a review from St. Thomas so that we can post it on my website. I also had a 16-year-old give a review on our website, which is great because sometimes they can be finicky.
Yeah, no, it's funny because, you know, growing up in Rhode Island, again, kids, you know, no matter how broke we might be on a Friday night, we all go out to dinner.
Right.
And you know, we're not the kids aren't getting fluffernutters here. Kids in this state, you know, understand what risotto is, and they understand, you know, because the grandma was either making chowder or maybe the gravy.
Right.
One of those things grandma was making. And, you know, because this state is so tribal and the families are so close in this state, so many generations have been able to experience it. But you've taken it to a whole new level. What's your mom's reaction to all this?
Well, my mom's pretty funny, as Jackson knows. She, for years, again, I was the youngest of 6, so I was always getting kicked out of the kitchen. And there was just too many people. So for years, if I had a party and I wanted to make her chowder, I'd say, Mom, just give me the recipe and let me make it. But she would always eventually make it for me because she wanted it to be perfect. So about a year ago, I said, that's it. You're going to sit at my kitchen counter. I'm going to make the chowder, and then we're going to see if it meets your specifications.
There's also a reticence by older folks to, you know, in my wife's family, it was her late grandma and her late mom were refugees, if you will, survivors of World War II in Western France and Brittany. And, you know, there's a whole culinary tradition there with seafood, but also these, what they call Brittany cakes, which, you know, you back up the truck full of butter and, you know, you back up the truck full of eggs and you make these incredibly dense, incredibly delicious cakes. And I'm Irish, so it was Irish soda bread. And the older generation would hold on to them because they weren't giving that stuff up easily. That was it almost, my sister was the one who finally got the Irish soda bread recipe, and I likened it once to the Karate Kid to her because you had to prove yourself worthy of said information. This is the stuff that's sacred.
Yeah. Her name's on it, so it had to be good.
Right. So she finds this inherently.
She does. She's excited. I would have brought her tonight, but again, she's 89, and I didn't want to bring her up from Newport, and you know.
My father just turned 96, and
wow.
There's an air of, I would use the term bemusement when it comes to just about anything the way things are done right now, because they both, your mom and my father, survived and seen so much in their lifetime.
Amazing. I mean, if we tried to launch this 15 years ago, I would be going to every single gift shop and, you know, store in Newport, but there's so many other avenues, and the internet has just been amazing.
Right. So, is there a minimum amount that you'll do with private labeling, or is there?
Well, if you go on the website, you can customize the label for $39. So that's very reasonable, and we can keep it on our website. So if you own a restaurant, if you own a bed and breakfast, a hotel, then we can house that for you, and then you can order as many as you want. So 25 is really the minimum that I would do, and then it goes up from there.
It's a very moderate setup charge.
Yes.
When you look at some of these.
Absolutely.
Some of these national organizations, what they want blood from you. The no, it's just we're going to get to the tasting in just a minute, but I just am sort of drinking this all in. The wedding photography. I see the wedding thing. It could be. Literally, there isn't a social occasion where this wouldn't be welcome.
Well, I mean, and if I went on Etsy, I looked at all the different vendors of what you can do for different favors, and I think everyone has seen it all. And if you look, there isn't a lot that has to do with food base that has shelf life.
Right.
So really, this is basically spices, and once you put it in the refrigerator, it lasts forever. I mean, I think we all have spices in our house that are probably been around. And if you look, there's really no expiration dates on them. They don't really have those. So part of Hope in Maine is that it comes with all these quality controls. So the different folks from the state will come in and they looked at the product and they gave me some ideas. Originally, I had used chicken base that was wet chicken base, but that was not going to have great stability, so we went into the little packets, which makes it much more easy to deal with.
Now, do you have the ingredients on the back? Or?
Yeah, well, I have not the ingredients here, because you don't need them per se, but the recipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ingredients are still locked in a vault?
They are locked in a vault, but honestly, if you follow the directions, like I said, it took me a little less than a half hour, less than that to even put all the ingredients together. But when you make a chowder, anything with cream, and it's probably not the healthiest, but you know what? It's great for, you know, a Saturday night. Every once in a while, you have to have fun, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, you're on.
You have to make sure you don't let it boil. That's the key. So
all right, talk about that, because that's, you know, we have a pot that's a testament to chowder failure in our house, where the bottom got burned.
Oh, you got to throw it out. Because once it burns, the taste will,
it's like
it's awful.
Right.
So there is about a 20-minute, do you want to say something?
No, you can go first.
Oh, there's about a 20-minute time frame where you have to really wash it. But, you know, you take one pan, you do the butter and the onion, and you cut up seafood, and you saute that 3 to 5 minutes. Then in the big pot, you're going to put your half and half, the secret potion, and potatoes. And then you just merge the two, and when you merge the two, you're stirring that, but then the third part, the real important part, is the flour and the milk, the thickening. So it's called a roux. If you look up the definition of a roux, it's really butter and fat and thickening material like a flour. So with this, we use milk and flour, and you just want to make it in a paste over a very low heat. And once you get that all consistent, you just pour the two together and stir every minute or so, but do not let it boil. Don't go over medium. And then once it gets thick, just turn it off, let it sit for a while, and well, you'll let me know what you think.
Well, and now it's other areas of controversy. The size of the potato chunks. Because that can really...
No, this is so easy because I'm so lazy. I'm not going to boil this up. My mom said, Katie, just go buy, and it says it here, 2 cans of pre-diced potatoes, white potatoes. Just buy the canned ones. It's the only thing that you can put in that's canned, and it just perfect.
Right.
They're all the same size, and you don't have to worry about it. I feel like you want to tell us something.
Yes. Also, when we were talking about the minimum amount of packets you can get for customizing one? Is there a maximum?
Yeah, as many as you want. Have you ever heard of Infinity? I'm waiting for the Infinity order.
Just keep them coming all.
Just keep them coming.
All day and all night long. The and then the seafood itself. Now, do you see? This is from a guy's perspective, who does not know how to. Is a terrible cook. And blessed by his wife's.
I went to
skills.
Ireland last month. It's not your fault. It's a wonderful country, and the people are wonderful, and we had a lot of fun. But breakfast was really the one meal that we could get through.
So do you? I mean, I think of clams. Do you suggest just buying minced clams, or you mincing the clams, or what?
There's no clams in our recipe. So our recipe is seafood, but you can put whatever you want. So the three I suggest is 1/3 of a pound of shrimp, cut up, scallops, and white, like a good chunk, like white fish, like a cod or a scrod, something that will hold up. But you can put anything you want. It's really what the base of the soup is what makes it taste so good. The spices, the roux, the cream, and then of course you can put in clams if you want, but I'm not a fan of clams. You could put in swordfish, you could put in salmon, I mean whatever you want.
And how? I mean, do you braid? As far as the actual preparation of the seafood, say for example shrimp.
Yeah, so easy. So you just devine it and take off the shell and then just chop it into small pieces. And then you saute it with the scallops and the fish and butter and onions in a pan just for 3 to 5 minutes to get that, get it translucent, and then you're going to put it into the big pot.
Wow.
So it's super easy.
All right. So since we don't have spoons here,
I know.
I'm going to be.
Let's see what you can do here.
See if I, just how big a mess I can make. Wow. Wow, that's. Now again, you instantly.
Well, you can even smell it through this.
All right. If you were so fortunate to be here right now with me, you would smell this and you would instantly. The first thought that came to mind is being at any one of these great small seafood restaurants that sort of dot South County, because this is not only the smell you have when you're eating it, but it's kind of the smell that pervades the restaurant in general. And you walk into a restaurant like that, and you feel like you're on vacation. So.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about the?
Sure.
Oh my God. Wow. All right,
And there's actually very little added salt and or pepper. So you can, if you want more, you can, but I think that's perfect.
Oh my God, that's delicious.
See, I told you.
Oh. And again, you feel like, prepare this at home. I'm going to bring this to my nephew and his niece's wife. They have a newborn.
Aww.
And you bring this to them at home, and they can't possibly go out to eat. The baby's 3 weeks old, but you feel like you're going out to dinner. Excuse me, why?
Absolutely. But make sure you deliver it tonight because I don't want anyone to get sick.
No, this is absolutely wonderful. Now you're wearing a medal. That's very important to your family.
Yes.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you that my mom entered on a dare. Do you remember the cook-off? Yeah, so the chowder cook-offs were huge in Newport, down at the Yachting Center for years. And the first year she entered, she won. And then she won the second year. And then she won the third year. And then they said, that's it, Muriel. So
mercy roll.
they awarded her the Chowder Hall of Fame. So what's interesting is when they sold the Yachting Center, I think that chowder cook-off kind of fell off a little bit. And I saw something online that, yeah, you got a little chowder on your glasses. I saw something online that they're bringing it back this fall. So wouldn't that be fun if we could highlight Muriel's seafood chowder?
Have they retired permanently? Yeah, could it be? I guess you could never call it Katie's seafood chowder.
Well, my mom said, you should be on here. I said, no, Mom, this is all about you. This is to, I want people to always remember my mom. She's not getting any younger, and she's been a wonderful part of the community. I mean, most people know her.
She still lives in Newport?
Yep, she lives with us.
With us.
Yes.
Right next door.
Yes, yep.
Which is interesting because for so many people, Newport is Thames Street. Newport is you know, the entertainment area downtown. You know, my children attended school in Providence, type of school where folks from all over the state came around, and my older daughter is one of her very best friends is a Newport kiddo, and they commuted daily from Newport to Providence. But until you meet that, then you realize that there's a real community in Newport, that there are folks who are year-rounders. Her father was on the on the harbor committee, and really running the city in the background. That for so many people is not an international tourist destination; it's home.
Right, absolutely.
And I got to meet a few years back a number of the folks from the No Newport Casino crowd. Actually, one of the earliest versions of the show was dedicated, in effect, to fighting the expansion of casino gaming in Newport, which again, it brought me into that whole Newport community, which is so very, very strong. It's almost like there's two Newports. You've got that beautiful tourist area, and then somehow behind it is this wonderful town.
Yeah, I think it's going through a bit of a transition in a positive way.
Right.
I think we have that big hotel that's coming in downtown where the yachting center was, so that should be interesting.
Well, I think people too, and I'll call it the Flatlanders, the folks here in the greater Providence area, I think have woken up to the reality that the Aquidneck Island community offers so much to the rest of the state. It really is kind of an ATM for the state, because there are you've got such a strong high-tech sector there, which has been so very, very successful in attracting regular families. The Navy now continues to flourish, although it's a vastly different type of Navy establishment than, say, the 70s and the 80s. You've got downtown Newport. So many of the best things of Rhode Island are on Aquidneck Island.
Well, and you really, I mean, how many people work out of their houses today? I mean, a lot of folks, you can live in Newport if you don't have to commute to a job. I work everywhere. Well, I do work in Newport too, but I'm in hospitals all over the state, so
Right.
I'm driving over the bridge.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because when you think about Rhode Island, there's 3 or 4 Rhode Islands in this tiny, tiny little state, and yet if you were in one, you could not even imagine that the other ones even existed. But again, the common denominator that brings Rhode Island together is their appreciation, their sophistication about food. And my sponsor, by the way, I always got to pay homage to them, are the fine folks at Yacht Club Beverage, yachtclubbottlingworks.com.
Are they from Cranston? Where are they?
North Providence, as we
North
say
Providence.
over here on the mainland.
Okay.
It's interesting because they went through their indoctrination about 107 years ago. It's what we like to say is Rhode Island's boutique soda before we knew we needed boutique sodas. Before hipsters came along, Yacht Club has been here. I'm a big fan of their root beer. You like root beer? They're the place to go.
Yes, I love root beer.
Then Yacht Club is the place for you. It's locally bottled, no artificial ingredients.
Wow.
Real cane sugar as opposed to and we always say here, now you see this is the perfect pairing. Something like a root beer or a cream soda with something like this on a summer night is a Rhode Island feast unto itself. You don't need to go to the, what do we call it, the refinery sodas. It's Memorial Day weekend. Folks are going to spend a lot of time preparing foods like this, hopefully using your product soon. And on top of that, they're going to, they're going to really put out, they're going to have a barbecue for their family. It's also a weekend of observance for the folks who serve this nation. So many of them who are leaving us now when we talk about the greatest generation. So why cheap out on the soda? Just like why have when you've got something like this, my God, why ever buy a canned?
I can't do it. The canned anything.
And see, your generation takes it for granted. My generation is the one that invented things like the fluffernutter and genuine cheese whiz. Don't ask.
I think the canned cheese.
Canned cheese. Think about that. My God, iceberg lettuce. All of these wonderful things that are, fortunately, were straight out of and have been left to the 60s and 70s. So I always want to take a moment to thank Yacht Club Bottling Works for their continued support. Tonight we're having a lot of fun. Very often the issues are very charged and political, and you know, for a
I'm
local.
glad we're not talking about politics.
No. I promise you politics free tonight. But ultimately, it's local companies supporting local media, which is ultimately supporting local companies. And, you know, congratulations for your work on this. It's the stuff of genius. You know, and it's an inspiration to, there's so many, the late great Vincent A. Buddy Cianci used to talk about something called soupy sausage, which is this, which was sausage pretty much unique to the westerly Rhode Island area. And you talk about chowders like this, you talk about all the different contributions the Portuguese community has made in terms of food. We can't lose that. You know, we can't lose that, you know, to sacrifice that on the altar of convenience. We really can't. And it would, you know, and that's why it's so important for newer companies that reflect on the past and companies like this that just continue to channel the past for us, you know, as part of our day-to-day lives. It's what makes life fun.
Well, I also wanted to teach my kids, I also have a 15-year-old daughter who's a freshman in high school, but I wanted to teach them that, you know what, these kids have taught me. I mean, I have nieces and nephews in their early 30s, and they're doing things that we could never have done at that age. You know, they're able to, you know, not have a defined career pathway, and they can make little stops here and there without someone honing in on their resume and wondering what they did every single step, like when I was growing up. So I wanted to show, what's my favorite show that we watch?
Shark Tank.
Yeah. So, you know,
Are you going to take it to Shark Tank?
I don't know. I would love to. If Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, is watching, this would be great with your wedding platform. So, yeah, I mean,
Rhode Island needs a local Shark Tank. That's what it really needs.
Yeah. Well, we have the big entrepreneur program, right, at URI. That's I've heard about it. I don't really know much about it. So, yeah, I'm just taking any opportunity, like tonight's opportunity to come talk to you. I appreciate it.
No, when local companies like this, I worked for myself for about 15 years, and I do this as my own tiny entrepreneurial effort. And local outfits, local companies provide innovation. They provide, you know, local employment. You know, capital stays home. All of those things, which, you know, folks give lip service to, but we need to support, because it's, quite frankly, it's this whole environment that we've been talking about for the last, you know, half hour or so that makes us a wonderful place to live and also to stay. You know, it's challenging now because young people are, you know, I have two daughters in their 20s, and they're going to be away for a while. Hope they make it back. But it's what makes life interesting and rewarding. And keeping that entrepreneurial skills, that innovation, thinking outside the box is you know, what makes this state a wonderful place to live in at every stage of your life. I often think we had folks from the Building Bridges on last week who were involved with the Knowledge District and the Jewelry District. And this is an amazing place to retire. And I don't know if as a state we do a good enough job promoting what an amazing place this is to stay and retire to. You know, tweak a couple of things and it would be, again, university communities, great food, great people, you know, a real tribal spirit. The sense that you can't do that to a Rhode Islander, only I can do that to a Rhode Islander. That's what makes this a very special place to live. So, congratulations for everything you're adding to it.
Thank you.
Now, will you? Are there festivals coming up? Will you bring this back, or is she permanently retired? Is her number up on the wall, or?
Well, I mean, she talks a lot of. She's got a lot of motivation, but she is 89. And so I don't see us making chowder, though, you know, I have you know, we have the folk and the jazz festival, and maybe trying to reach out and do something. I'm not sure.
There's so many people. I mean, how many years now is it Jazz Festival?
I
mean,
know.
go back to Bob Dylan going electric at the Jazz Festival. Yeah, that's how long the Jazz Festival has been. And, you know, a lot of parts of the country, they simply don't have a jazz and folk festival or anything remotely like that over the time period. So, again, time to be positive about Rhode Island as opposed to that ceaseless negativity. And you're helping do it.
Yes, I am.
All right. So where can folks find you?
All right. So
give us a whole.
Why don't you tell them what is the name
shameless
of our?
self-promotion.
Yeah. What's the name? Look into the camera and tell them what's the name of our website.
The name of the website is Newport Chowder Co.
Company.
Company.
Yeah. newportchowdercompany.com. So you can go on there, our website, and Frank said I needed to put a video. So there's a video of my mom and I talking about the product. We only got to do one take, so please be kind. But Mima looked good. So, so that's on our website, and then we have a page where you can shop, and it tells you all about customization. We also have backdrops. So, for instance, we have backdrops. We had a great photographer, Mary Keller, who's local on Aquidneck Island. She went to Second Beach and took a bunch of pictures. So you can choose from those, and you can just put your picture right on top of them. So there's, you can do whatever you want with these.
Excellent.
And if it's a wedding favor, this can come off and be framed, and I always say you're not going to look any better than on your engagement photo or somewhere close to your wedding day.
Yeah, in my case especially.
You can also find Newport Chowder Co. on Instagram.
Newport Chowder Company is on Instagram, Facebook. What else?
I think that's. We have a YouTube channel also.
We do?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
there you go.
So he's going to be my corporate advisor, right? Is that what you're? Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your venture.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, young man. And we're going to keep us apprised of product developments and what you're doing and where you can be seen. I know Frank or you, if you could just kind of keep me up to date, so I can
Absolutely.
so I can just share the love on the Facebook, as they say.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Well, again, Katie and Jackson Potter joining us live here at the Go Local studios here at the Go Local Live Center at 90 Way Boston Street. They are with the Newport Chowder Company, and it's delicious. First of all, forget everything else. It just really tastes good. It's an homage, kind of to Muriel's restaurant, to her mom, and just a lifetime of success, both as a mom and as a cook. And that's great stuff to celebrate. And the best part about it is it's here in Rhode Island. So NewportChowderCompany.com, available for all sorts of presents, availability to customize a product for weddings and gifts. Don't give anybody, how many, you get to that point where you've been the groomsman, how many ties do you need? How many, particularly if you're so blessed to have a Rhode Island wedding. Again, the perfect gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city we love, Providence, Rhode Island, La Prave, the Renaissance City. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the Mighty Mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership, CoalitionRadio.us. As always, whether it be Newport Chowder Company on the Facebook, we have a link on our Facebook page to it, or our site, the lifeblood, if you will, of not just independent media, but small American businesses, is social media. It gives them an opportunity to kind of fight through the noise and the crowded market space to illustrate their product. So we'd ask you to follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course, if you could give us a like and a follow, we'd be grateful as well. We're going to take a few minutes off. At 8 o'clock, we're going to go into the National Libertarian Hour. Our prior guest, Sam Bell, had to reschedule. I apologize for the tease. He'll be on next Friday at 6 o'clock, and we'll cover all the issues we were going to discuss this evening. Folks, stay tuned. It's going to be a few minutes, but we will be back with some pretty challenging programming. Talk to you soon.